Welcome to China Manufacturing Decoded from Sofeast, the podcast where we take you through some of the major topics facing importers and manufacturers in China today.
Hi everybody, welcome along again. It's episode 58 today, and we're talking about how to reduce lead times from your suppliers in China or Asia. I'm Adrian from the team, and I'm joined, as ever, by our CEO, Renaud. Hi, Renaud.
Hey Adrian, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. How's it going with you? And is there any news on the COVID situation in South China yet?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Not much has changed since the last episode. Not many news. Situation in South China is, let's say, under very close scrutiny. And it was planned already to last, probably at least 2 weeks. I mean, we know they need to keep looking carefully because there's been some suspicion, some risks of fast spreading. So
Yeah.
there's some areas of Guangzhou that are blocked. So, for example, we have one of our technicians lives there. So fortunately, he's not stuck in his home, but he cannot really get back there. So he simply stays in hotels.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's
hotels and goes to the next
wow.
place.
What a pain.
Yeah. Well, it's not gonna last forever.
No.
It has a little bit of an impact. Sending the staff to do the testing, regularly, but that's fine. Now, for people who really want to go into China at this time, if they don't already have a work visa, the right kind of vaccine and everything, it seems like it's pretty hard to get the PU letters, these special administrative steps. Seems to be a little bit harder for them to get in China now, and it was already pretty hard. And for people who want to travel within China, that they might be the most impacted. So if we have someone, say in Shanghai or in Xiamen, and they have to go do a job in somewhere in Shenzhen, in Guangzhou, in Foshan, in Huizhou, and so on, they really don't want to go because they can go there, but they can't really go back. I mean, when they go back, they will have to stay in quarantine and everything. So it's not fun. And even if today their local government says, yeah, no problem, well, who knows by the time they come back, the rules change all the time. So let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, with their methods, I get they will get over it. I'm not so worried.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, speaking about the COVID situation in China is actually relevant to the topic at hand today, because as we've also discussed in other podcasts and written content that we've put out on Sofeast blog, for example, the localized lockdowns and outbreaks that have happened, for example, at Yantian port in Shenzhen, which is one of a major ports in South China, this has caused delays. This has caused expanded lead times from suppliers in China or other places in Asia, which have also suffered from outbreaks, like in Vietnam, for example, I suppose. So there's definitely a good link there. And so I think it's quite a relevant topic to cover today. In general terms, why should we always be striving to reduce our lead times?
Well, the longer the lead times to, when you reorder your products, the more you have to rely on forecast. And, the more you rely on forecast, the more risk you have, you run of getting wrong, of making the wrong bet, right? So if you say, well, I have, I don't know, let's say you have 1 month of average sales quantity, let's say, in your warehouse for a given product, that maybe 6 weeks before you should already launch a reorder, and then you get it 4 weeks later. And then if things go wrong, you still have a little bit of a safety net on average, right? If it's a product that you can still afford to be out of stock for a few days, right? So,
Hmm.
and in other cases, you absolutely need to keep like a minimum safety stock, and you should nearly never be out of stock. Okay, then in that case, obviously, you need to take more margin of safety, and you need to use some statistics to estimate the probability that you will be out of stock, right?
Yeah.
So you let's say your tolerance for surprises, your tolerance for the probability of getting out of stock for a certain product is one factor. Another big factor is how long it takes you to reorder, to get the same products, and that's the lead times. Basically the total lead time to get a product from the issuance of a purchase order from your side to the products arriving in your warehouse, in your distribution center, in your stores, wherever it really counts. And you say COVID is relevant. Well, it's very relevant because in in 2017, 18, 19, in a lot of product categories, there were not many surprises. There was like, okay, we have this model, and then most of the time it would be okay if we follow this sort of decision model, and we'll usually get the products on time, and we won't run out of inventory too badly, and then even that we have continuity of supply, we can keep supporting our customers.
Yeah.
That's great when the environment is stable, but then when the environment is unstable, like we've seen over the past 18 months, well, all of a sudden, your forecast, you can't really count much on your forecasts, because maybe your sales will dry up, maybe you will sell everything in the next 3 days, and maybe your suppliers themselves will have trouble. If, for example, these days you want to order, an electronic products, and some of the components are out of stock, or their price went 5x or 10x.
Yeah.
Well, you might have a problem. This is going to impact you. If I don't know, if you were selling face masks in March of 2020, your stock would disappear pretty fast. If it's on Amazon, boom, bye bye. It gets sold out very fast.
Yeah.
So this is the unpredictability of demand and supply, right? That make the whole forecasting exercise much more difficult, with lower accuracy. So when you cannot have a very accurate forecast, then the one thing you really start to look at very carefully is the lead times. If it takes you forever to get your product, you're very reliant on your forecast. But if you cannot rely on your forecast, then you're going to be out of luck, more of the time, and that is a big problem. So that's the why. Why you need to reduce lead times. I mean, another big why is, if let's say you said in the UK, if you have two sources for a product, let's say you have one source in Shenzhen, and then you have another source in Warsaw, in Poland. Well, the one in Shenzhen, it might take you, I don't know, it might take you 60 days, 70 days, 80 days, you know, to get the product. Well, that's your lead time. But maybe if you order from your supplier in Poland, and maybe it doesn't have to be a full container. Maybe they can send, five cubic meters of product, let's say, and it's economically okay. Well, maybe they can make these products, these few units, maybe in 10 days, maybe they also they always have a little bit of raw materials in stock, just enough to make that when you need it. And then they put it on a truck, and you get it just a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
That's much faster. That can be 5 times faster, or even more. Um, so that makes a huge difference on the amount of inventory that you need to carry. So that's the second big reason why reducing the lead times comes with a lot of benefits. Lower
Mm.
inventory means lower cash tied in working capital that maybe you need to borrow. Maybe you need to borrow it at 10%, 12% a year, in interest rate, or sometimes even more. And then if you're in the fashion business, wow,
Well, yeah.
it's even more important because you have your new style, and you put it on the shelves at the beginning of the season, and then you see it sells very well. Maybe you don't have the time to reorder the same. If you reorder, the whole cycle is whatever, 45 days to shipment plus 35 days to get it over, and so on, and then the season is over. So you just have one shot. And similarly, if it's a lemon, if it doesn't sell well, you know you had to purchase a higher quantity than you would like, with high uncertainty. So that leads at the same time to some inventory that you need to liquidate because you
Yeah.
could not sell it, and also some customers maybe came to your shops and could not find something they liked. But if lead times were shorter, they would have seen the one they like because you would have time to reorder it, right?
Mm.
So lost sales, that's also expensive.
Mm.
So yeah, that's why a lot of companies look into what can we do to get the lead times down, you know, yeah,
Mm.
because really when you add everything up, from you issue the PO to you receive the products, it might be a very long time, shockingly long sometimes.
Yeah, and even worse these days as well.
So it depends. If you are in one of the hot categories, I don't know, like e-bikes, or some gym equipment, or some electronics, as I mentioned,
Mm.
well, yeah, you're out of luck. It's somewhere in the supply chain where there's sort of a bottleneck, things really slow down, and then
Mm.
you are impacted because, yeah, your total lead time is going to go up. At the same time, if you buy, from a factory that's not very busy, and none of the materials or components or accessories that make up the product is in short supply, well, it might actually be faster than usual. So,
Mm.
but maybe not by much, right? But a little bit faster.
Okay, interesting. Well, you mentioned an interesting sentence just then. You said, that's why everybody's looking to reduce lead times. That's because we've talked about the importance of it. Before we go into your strategies of how to reduce lead times, it's probably going to be very, very helpful to talk about some of the common causes.
The first thing you want to look at is, where is the manufacturing taking place?
Hmm.
And you need also to have an idea about the not only your tier one supplier, the one that sells to you, but also maybe tier two, tier three, at least for the critical components that might run into short supply, that might be custom made, that not standard, um, and this understanding first will will explain a lot of things. So if you buy from a factory in China, let's say, or let's say you buy it from Vietnam. Okay, let's make it interesting. you buy a finished product from a factory in Vietnam, and let's say it's some kind of power tool, maybe an electrical screwdriver. And typically this is made in China, but a lot of this has moved recently, and you buy it from Vietnam. Now, most of the components will still come from China, probably, right? So you're still depending on the Chinese supply chain, and maybe there's one key component also that comes from Taiwan, from Malaysia, from Japan. I don't know, from another country. You you should have an idea about all these things, even if you don't know the identity of these sub suppliers and sub suppliers. You need to have an idea at least. So what I mean is that having an idea of where manufacturing takes place gives you an idea already on the map. Then based on that, there's some obvious issues, right? Transportation. So when you place a PO and the factory in Vietnam doesn't have everything already in their warehouse, all the components, then they also need to place a PO to their sources in mainland China. And then these sources maybe need to order the Japan-made component, let's say, okay, or maybe they have it in inventory most of the time. Maybe you can count on the fact that they have it in inventory. Let's say they have everything in inventory in South China, in Guangzhou. Okay, great. Then they're gonna, waste a few days, maybe in paperwork and confirmations and payments, and then it's gonna get on the truck, and then in a couple of days it will be at the factory, ready to be assembled. Then what happens? There's incoming quality control. There's always waiting a little bit because they have a plan for assembly, so they it's not like they have a slot right away. Then it goes into assembly on the lines. How long is it going to take? Well, if you order 2,000 pieces, it's going to be faster than if you order 50,000 pieces at a time, right? So this has an impact. And then the testing, the outgoing QC, export declaration, waiting a little bit, getting a container, which is a problem these days.
Yeah.
Getting a space on a boat, and then if it's sent by sea, let's say, doing the whole voyage to where it's going to be delivered and get out of customs and get on a truck and so on. And that's how you get to maybe you place the PO, then you wait for 40 days, and then you wait for another 35 days, and add a couple of extra days, and then it's in a warehouse where you can actually start to put your hands on the product. Well, that's 80 days roughly, right? That's a long time.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah, if you buy all of that from Poland, let's say, and if you're in Birmingham in the UK, well, a lot of this will be slashed. If all the components are made in let's say in Germany, Czech Republic, and Poland, well, okay, all of this gets on the truck, gets to Poland, gets assembled. Then, since you don't need to do full containers, you can order more often. It means the batch will be smaller, and then you get the products, and again in just a few days of truck. And if it's not good, you could send it back. Now, let's say you're not in London. Okay, maybe now with the UK getting on its own. I'm not sure it's the best example, but let's say you're in Copenhagen. You get the products, and if it's not good, probably you can just put them back on a truck and send it to them and get it back a few days later. If there was a mistake in assembly, just need to assemble, rework, disassemble, sorry, rework, reassemble, repack, and ship to you. It's much smoother than China. The big extra problem with China is that if they make it wrong, or Vietnam, so if they make it wrong, it takes forever to send it back. And if it's declared as defective products, it might actually be impossible to send it back. Right? In China, they make it very, very difficult. In Vietnam, actually, I don't even know.
Right. Oh, because they're worried about foreign waste coming in.
Partly, yeah, partly. True. I mean, basically, China does not have a return policy. So yeah, I mean, there are ways around it, right? Like in the Shenzhen Free Trade Zone, it's possible to do a little bit of rework and things like that without importing products, and then you ship them out again. But still, it takes forever to send it back, get it reprocessed and send it again your way. Right? It takes forever. So
Yes.
that's not fun. So that's the big the big thing, right? Geographically, where is it located? What does your supply chain look like when you look at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? And what is the size of your batches? And also, what is the risk that you get something that you cannot use and you need to send it back? What is the risk that the lead time at the last minute balloons, more than doubles maybe, right? Or you can't even send it back. You need to reorder once again. That's a big problem. There are some other causes, I mean, poor communication by some suppliers definitely slows things down sometimes. How long it's going to take to be processed, that's for sure. Maybe they're very busy. Maybe the way they are organized in production is very batch and queue and batch and queue and batch and queue. The different processes are not linked, at all. And you go to their factory and it's more a warehouse than a factory. There's piles of materials everywhere, and you can't even see the people in the machines. That's the sign of a very slow manufacturer, right?
Yeah, it doesn't scream efficiency.
Oh yeah. And then sometimes you look at the piles of products, you run your finger on it, and it's full of dust. You're like, how long's this been here? So, yeah, that's a big topic. How much inventory they keep. Also, I kind of mentioned that. But if they want to be themselves on the safe side, or maybe they do a VMI, vendor managed inventory with some of their suppliers, or if their suppliers are just next to them and very reactive, all of this makes a big difference, because a lot of the time in the total lead time is spent just waiting for materials. And some of them, you order them and you get them the next day, but some of them have to be custom made. And some products have a bill of material of 50 lines, 100 lines or more. And when you start to have a lot of types of components, if one of them is late, you can't start, right? That's in many cases. So that is also a big cause of not only long lead time, but also inconsistently long lead times. And that is a big problem. When you really need it, and they say, well, we have a little problem here, it's going to be a bit slower. And then they don't say anything, and then it's supposed to ship, on 25 June, and on 20 June, they tell you, we're going to be a week late because we haven't started doing the assembly yet because blah, blah, blah. And when they tell you they're going to be 1 week late, it means at least 1 week. And then, later they say, well, another 5 days, another 5 days. So, yeah, this is a big thing also. So these are the main causes, right? Obviously, there's some other causes, but these are really those that come to my mind.
Sure. No, those are good. So that's diagnosing the symptoms of lead times that are too long. So with those in mind, then, for everybody who's listening, what are your key strategies for actually reducing your lead times then?
So you need to take your products or maybe your markets and put them on sort of a 2 by 2 chart, and you say, okay, which ones for which ones are very stable? The demand is relatively stable. We can forecast relatively well, so we can live with a long lead time. And that stuff, you can have it made in Asia, and you're not gonna try to go with all kinds of strategies to keep the lead time very short. It's not that critical. And then some others, some of your customers or your products will be very time sensitive. Just like the example I said before, you sell fashion products, you have a new style for this collection, and when the season starts, you need to be able to reorder and get it shipped pretty fast.
Yeah.
Then based on that, you structure your supply chain the right way. I think a few years ago, I was listening to a presentation in a conference in Hong Kong by someone from the Gap, and the clothing company, and they
Yeah.
really did that. They did a 2 by 2 chart, and they say, well, these are the like the white T-shirt and things like that. It's fine, we're gonna be okay. Even if we stuck with a little bit too much inventory, it's fine. We'll sell it. And then there was at the other extreme the fashion products that need to what timelines are very, very sensitive. And then based on that, they say, well, if the market is North America and timing is sensitive, I want to have it made in Honduras, let's say. Okay. Or maybe the first batch, which is not very time sensitive, can be planned in advance, can be sewn in Bangladesh. But then for the reorder, I need everything to be ready to launch a production in Honduras if necessary, right? And then you can really break down the steps. So okay, to make this batch of whatever of fashion shirts, we need to have the yarn. Okay, and the yarn doesn't have to be dyed yet, so it can be grade yarn, as they say. And we can already work with our suppliers so they have that in stock. And then sort of at the last moment, we will tell them, well, you will use this yarn to make these products, in that color, because that's what's selling well. And we drop the plan to make that other one. It's not going to work because the market is not really loving it, right? So in doing that, you have a lot of extra flexibility. That's one thing, really sitting down and doing an analysis of how to structure your supply chain and how to work with the different suppliers. Because when you look at the case that I just mentioned, so you work directly with the fabric supplier, not the garment factory, but the fabric supplier. You need to make sure that they have this kind of yarn available, and that after that they can have it dyed pretty fast and shipped to the right cut and sew factory. And in the cut and sew factory, what you do is you reserve some of the time of some of their lines, and then as late as possible, you tell them what the plan is, and they're gonna get the fabric that they need, and so on and so forth. Now that takes quite a bit of work, but there's a number of fashion companies that have done that. I mean, obviously you can also put everything in a plane, but it's not very friendly to the environment, and
it's not sustainable, is it? In many ways.
Yeah, not sustainable, exactly. Okay, so that's really working on the structure of the supply chain. Another way, if you work closely with a manufacturer, and if you are their main customer, then you can, or let's say you are one of their biggest customer, you can sit down with them and say, okay, so why does it take you 45 days to have that made, or 50 days, or whatever? Or maybe you make. I remember an extreme case. Factory that was making axles for cars, but for the aftermarket um, segment. And these guys were doing the casting, die casting, and they were doing, a lot of the machining, because there was a lot of machining involved. And after that, they were doing the assembly together and putting the grease and things like that. And and they were very late in shipping to their customers. But we looked at the all the inventory that they had of work in process material, and the time that it takes them to process everything. And basically, something that starts at the die casting stage will be a finished product in a box, something like 5 months later. So sometimes it really gets extreme, And I say 5 months, but it might have been 6 to 7 months. It was just insane. So, in such a case, what you do is you sit down with your supplier and say, hey, okay, first, planning system. How do you plan? Oh, we do like this, but it's not very structured. Oh, and it changes all the time, because the customers say, oh, this is very urgent, you have to push it, and then it makes things even more complicated, because the plan keeps changing and everything. Okay, that in itself will make everything less efficient, will reduce the capacity of the factory, and it means that they will be slower in making your orders. So you need them to actually have a good planning system in place that doesn't get interrupted all the time, that can just set the plan, and then within a bit of flexibility, have it done all per the plan, so that you maximize the efficiencies. And also you don't tell the customers at the last minute that it's going to be late. You already know what's going to be shipped when, basically.
Right.
Also, work on the batch sizes. Sometimes there's really no reason to place very large orders. Now, some people, and that's very, very true in China, is they say, well, I need to buy that specific kind of stainless steel. The price goes up, goes down a little bit. I'm waiting a little bit, and then, because I know when I order a very large quantity, I can negotiate a discount with the supplier, and then so it pushes them to focus on the volumes, the biggest batch at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as I mentioned, if you make a huge batch, everything is slower. It's slower to get from materials to finished products. So that is a behavior that their purchasers need to stop, because just to earn an extra, I don't know, 2% discount on what they buy, also it kills their own working capital, and it takes a lot of space, and it makes a lot of things inefficient also on their side.
Yeah, so, and all of that attracts costs as well, right? Such as the warehousing and all the rest of it.
Of course, yeah, they need a bigger warehouse. They need more people to move stuff around. If there's a quality problem, but they've already semi-processed, 40,000 pieces. Oh, that is a lot of, that is a very big problem, very costly.
Sure. Yeah.
And you need to basically push them to reduce the work in process inventory. So there's ways to do that. You link the processes closer to each other, and you try to minimize the just in case I push everything I can to the next process kind of mindset. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you need to explain it to them, and most of them will not understand it, because people just assume that when you make a huge batch, you maximize all the efficiencies, your machines never have to be down, never have to be set up or anything. the people don't have to think too much. When you get it right at the beginning, you will keep getting it right. So quality will be great. They have this kind of mindset, and it's actually the opposite. The best manufacturers now want to be lean because it comes with better quality and lower costs, as well as much shorter lead times. It all goes together, but yeah, most people don't really understand why, and it's not easy to make them grasp why. Also, okay, why do they say, for example, 50 days? But actually, when you put things on in an Excel file, it should be only 35 days. Well, quality issues happen. Maybe they receive components from their suppliers, and sometimes they have to reject. Maybe sometimes they don't really pay attention to it. It goes into production, and then the production staff has to sort them out. I mean, this is a very bad thing to have production staff do, and obviously it impacts their efficiency. It slows things down, and sometimes they cause quality issues, and it needs to be reworked. So also so that's disasters, right? That's why they say, okay, just in case we do everything with more inventory, just in case it could be 45 days, but we say 50 days, just in case, da, da, da. So they go with this just in case thinking because they know that they have a lot of nasty surprises. So one kind of nasty surprise is quality issues. Another one is equipment going down. But why does the equipment go down unexpectedly? Because they're not good at preventive maintenance.
Yes.
So, okay, so they're not good at quality, or their suppliers are not good at quality. Boom, that's a problem. No good preventive maintenance. Boom, that's a problem. Maybe some of their staff, are not stable. They might have 10 people leave next week and they don't even know about it. Well, right there, management of the people. Get them trained, get them, make sure they're okay. Don't kill them with, oh, we need to ship everything, by tomorrow morning. So just keep working through the night. And there's no Sunday we have to work, guys. Yeah. You will get paid extra. Don't worry. Just keep working, and it's fine. You will have a day of rest next weekend, hopefully. Okay, so that's illegal, and you lose some of your best staff because people don't put up with that for years and years and years.
Sure.
So again, not sustainable, right? So all of that was really working with your supplier, getting into their processes, into their planning systems. So it's not just about the manufacturing side, it's really also a lot on their supply chain side, not ordering too much and so on. So yeah, that's, another one is to get better forecast, more accurate forecast. Maybe you need to work closely with your with your key customers to get some indications, earlier that you need to reorder, or maybe this one is not moving very fast, right? And similarly, you could share that also with your key suppliers. You can give them a forecast. A forecast is not a purchase order, right? So some customers give, for example, a 3-month forecast, or even longer, and that's a good thing, because it means, okay, the forecast shows that they're going to order. Okay, let's order more, inventory, and let's talk with our own suppliers to see what the issues may be, and then boom, I get the PO. I should not have a surprise. I should be kind of prepared, right? So obviously, the problem with forecast is sometimes they're kind of optimistic, and you order a lot, and then actually they say, well, we're way too optimistic. Sorry, something happened in our distribution channels. We dropped these guys because we couldn't work with them, whatever, So yeah, sales are going to be a bit soft for the next 6 months. Sorry. and then you're stuck with a lot of inventory. Okay, happened to us not so long ago. So then what do? Do you keep the inventory? Do you try to resell it if it's not custom? That's a big issue. And usually the manufacturing contracts in that case will provide for, a way out. If the manufacturer cannot sell it, then there should be a little bit of a penalty for the customer in that case. Right? It's got to be fair. So these are the big things that you can do, I think, to cut the lead times for your procurement. I hope that was clear. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, really good. And when you were listing all of the potential problems that you might come across, there was one thought going to my mind, and that was the vetting of suppliers. A lot of these things that you're talking about that suddenly it causes a big problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously,
so so when you vet a supplier, you can see, okay, do you have a proper planning system? Oh, okay, yeah, you have an ERP, great, but do you just run your sales, your purchases, and your finance stuff in your ERP, or do you use the production control, material control, these kinds of modules? No, you don't. Okay, so show me your planning system. Oh, it's all in the head of whatever, the production manager. Oh,
yeah, that's not
okay,
good.
well, that already tells you something. And there's a lot of things you can do. Look for the bottlenecks, the bottlenecks in their internal operations, and then you can sort of deduct, okay, if they only have like 5 machines like this, and then their maximum capacity per day is X, right? So that gives you an idea about their flexibility, and then you can have an idea of, like, are they already sort of at max capacity, or would it be easy for them to ramp up that capacity quickly if necessary? And also, do they try to reduce work in process inventory, or are they drowning in a sea of materials everywhere? All right. These are some relatively simple topics that can be checked.
Yeah, as soon as you send an auditor in, they're going to pull up a lot of this stuff.
If that's the topic, that he needs to focus on.
Yeah. Okay, good. Great. Well, that's some great advice for anybody listening who is sort of dissatisfied with their lead times at the moment. There's a lot to think about there. So that's been really good. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like and share, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other places that you get your podcasts from. See you next time.